This video is intended to describe a Master Blade Excalibur class Lightblade wand named Isis. The term Excalibur class blade is fondly commandeered from recipients of such exotic vast platforms previously, who would always claim that they felt like they were holding Excalibur. So I took that name and ran with it for a certain kind of class of complex light tech device in a wand format called an Excalibur class blade. Let's get into it. So I'll get into the primary blade banding. Also, as a fair disclaimer, this will take a while, so anyone watching this may want to grab a beverage or a snack to endure the entirety of this commentary. I will start with the primary blade banding and utilize my crude chakra map, as well as these iconography, as well as this power pack right here will be the hood installed in this engine section, and all these magical symbols, particularly pertaining to the golden age of ancient Egypt's magical past, will be employed in the circuit to be part of the energy of this entire construct. And of course, that will be dealt with in succession with the video's description, and eventually will be installed over this engine section, which I will describe in great detail before it's concealed by the hood. Okay, I will start with the primary blade banding or scaffolding of this entire device first things first, and be employing my crude chakra map for a visual cue of stimulation points in the chakra meridian system. Starting off the primary blade band, all the way from this first lateral band right here is clear quartz, going up to here straight into lapis lazuli, which lapis, of course, is the quintessential stone of Isis, utilized in ancient Egypt as the aspect of Isis, as well as being a very powerful blue ray royal stone. So lapis in such an Egyptian-designed blade is obviously very paramount and obviously important in its high concentrations, hence here, and at the very tip right here, as well as on the lateral bands right here, which I'll get into later. But of course, this is a very lapis-rich design, which is obviously an homage or an ode to Isis, named after the wonderful ascended master goddess of that Egyptian pantheon and beyond. And of course, prepare for a lot of digressions in this video. There's a lot to cover in this entire topic. Okay, back to lapis. Lapis lazuli, golden healer quartz. So this will be the primary blade magnificent sequence I will discuss right now, to be very clarified and evident. Lapis lazuli stimulates the 5th and 6th chakras, is a wind elemental stone of great notoriety and metaphysical use for literally thousands of years. Of course, also very powerful vibrational analog frequency to the mysteries of ancient Egypt's past. So that is very evident in its importance in this description of this video, and being a Egyptian-inspired light tool is very, very obviously self-evidently important. So of course that description applies to this guy as well as this lateral band, which I'll get into, as well as the primary thumb engagement right here. Lots of lapis throughout the entire construct for great effectivity for keeping one aligned to their highest truth. So lapis is also known as stone of royal virtues, as well as past life recall, and a very powerful agent to stimulate the higher mind or the highest truth of the higher centers of psychic capacity. And very amazing for diagnosis of any kind of deficiency, to see clearly any kind of impediments in the energy field in a practitioner sense, to be able to clearly ascertain by intuition and rational logic combined the contributing factors that can compromise whoever is under the jurisdiction of the practitioner, the manifestation of problems, and most importantly, how to diffuse and dismantle them from impeding a natural happy flow of life. I think it's enough on lapis for now. So this subcapacitated in the sequence from lapis to golden healer quartz. So golden healer quartz is throughout the entire main blade band, which is a very powerful, high heart, crystalline, gold white light Christ frequency emanator to source. So having that heavy concentration of the source energy through the primary blade band was very critical for really getting a very powerful source resonance device of great magnificence into being. So we can think of it as lapis ignition sequence, then going to source, gold, white light, Christ, frequency, energy, alignment to the source of creation, then going into blue lace agate. Blue lace agate is a very fantastic stone for stabilizing the fifth chakra. So obviously in kind of counseling modalities and any kind of practitioners who use their wisdom and their insights in a clear, coherent manner, it's quite important and very advantageous to have a stabilized fifth chakra. Or just being human in general, being able to talk is quite advantageous on the earth plane. So that heavy concentration of blue lace agate for the primary blade band was very powerful to make this a very strong, stabilized blue ray dominant vibration. Golden Healer Quartz once again into the lovely Larimar. Larimar is an amazing blue ray stone, more recently discovered in this timeline around 1982 from one island in the Dominican Republic. So Larimar is a very lovely water and fire elemental composition. So it's very, very powerful for cooling excess heat within the body. So you can think of an overactive Ka center. And Larimar is a fantastic stimulant to the fifth to be the perfect energetic balance to the sacrum when it's overcharged to bring a very soothing stimulation of the fifth and sixth. So you can think of it as a very powerful oasis of calm generator, yet also a very much a stone of the goddess to put one's truth in a more feminine perspective in a calm, serene, clear manner. Larimar is an absolutely incredible stone, particularly on a Lightblade structure, how it produces a very cold field. It's kind of a fun party favorite I've been utilizing for a good many years now. Every time summer rolls around, I oftentimes will make a Larimar construct for the new season to be a perfect counter to excess heat. So that application of Larimar in this amazing powerful construct, of course, brings the soothing aspect of the primary blade band to be a very calm, serene, oceanic energy. Very much honoring of the goddess Isis. In tandem with the lapis lazuli, the blue lace agate, and the Larimar with the golden healer quartz is the primary blade band. Now, it's quite a bit to describe just for the primary ignition sequence, so I will continue the theme of talk about the blade band's proper base structure. So underneath this lovely lapis blue leather right here is the ignition sequence of the transmutation ratio, starting with this lateral band of both hematite and smoky quartz, running like so, the same exact frequency right here, running like so, underneath this handband right here, going all the way to this lateral band, like so, then recirculating right here. So that's a closed loop circuit of that particular frequency, then continuing the theme of the transmutation blade band, continues once again hematite and smoky quartz all the way around the main engine. So you can think of that entire framing of this frequency of the transmutation cycle being very grounding and purifying to the energy field. And most importantly, the hematite is a very powerful grounder of excess energy, so you can also think of it as another way to get this much frequency into the earth plane safely and contained, is the hematite aspect taking all stray energies from the auric field stimulation, strongly grounding from the root, grounding them into the earth stars, the chakras beneath the feet, and most importantly, grounding all that excess energy into the earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. With that strong contact patch with the earth plane, that's how, and that strong ground prevents any kind of misarcs or diseases from high reprocessing to manifest emotionally, physically, and spiritually, compromising the effectivity of the light body or a healthy energy pattern or a healthy body. Vice versa, all simultaneously connected. So having that framing rate with the smoky quartz, also smoky quartz in tandem with the hematite makes a lovely grounding of excess energy as well as a third composting. So you can think of any kind of negativity being strongly discharged out of the system into the earth for reprocessing. So the combination of what I've deemed the transmutation ratio is a high ground purification yield that dramatically in tandem will take all excess energies and ground them into the earth, which is most critical aspect of vibration engineering, in my humble opinion, of course. And to make, quite simply, magic real and tangible is having a strong base foundation to ground the etheric energy into Mother Earth to make it real here in 3D. Okay, so like I mentioned, the transmutation blade band is the entire handband section under here, then circling back here, so it has a very strong arc, as it runs a current through the entire process, has a very strong grounding transmutation of negativity into positivity subroutine through the entire matrix of such a complex device. With several lateral bands, which I'll describe in detail, but I might as well start down here at the engine since I'm here, because this will take a while. At the very apex right here is the lovely star argonite. Star argonite is a very amazing, beneficent stone, and actually is utilized with one at the very end of this engine right here, and then one right behind the primary quartz engine, which is right here, which I'll get into momentarily. But having the dual connection of this star argonite was paramount for the success of this device as a veritable, tremendous healing tool. Star argonite is an amazing wonder of the mineral kingdom, actually, because it is a calcium-based frequency that actually stimulates the entire chakra column in unison, yet it does it in a very gentle, smooth way that actually was very effective for dismantling and decrystallizing any outmodeled patterns that are impeding the full flow light body from the top to bottom, everything in between, and full emanation. Its healing capacity and potency is, I almost probably can't do justice in this video to keep it relatively condensed, so it's at least under an hour for this whole thing. But this is an honest to goodness master healer in the mineral kingdom, and most importantly, its stimulation factor on the human scaffolding also stimulates very strong bones. So obviously, in the human avatar structure, the skeletal structure or the bone structure is the most dense aspect of our entire scaffolding as a human avatar, or the chassis, if you would. So you can think of that kind of intense light induction stimulation really strengthening the bones, but most importantly in this application, also that obviously it's a good side effect, but having the skeletal structure be energized at the atomical level with great amounts of light is, of course, an aspect of the skeletal structure being very strength with light. That light, of course, radiates out through the entire system, and which is a very, very powerful healing modality. So that is amazing, obviously, and pretty prevalent placement. So it's always right in the main circuitry of the main engine, as well as the what I consider the sub-engine right here, to have that constant full auric healing potentiality. And to further augment this healing potentiality of that frequency is the lovely seraphinite right here. Seraphinite is a green ray stone named after the Seraphim Archangels, which is also a very powerful full light body activator that is exceptionally talented at dismantling codes in the entire energy system, the mental, physical, and emotional bodies that cause light body impediments. So you can think of a seraphinite being one of the master healers of this age, if you would, and hence it being wired in tandem with this frequency in between the main engine is a massive amplification of these two in tandem to have a very powerfully healed full light body activation, and most importantly, decode any of the frequency energies that manifest as a dis-ease or disharmony, impeding the full light body flow from the top all the way to the bottom and everything in between. Just those two by themselves, not to mention there's a whole host of different frequencies in a closed loop circuit tandem, all pinging off each other and making one single vibratory field on the primary wire. So that's just an example of those two, which is a good way to come out swinging, so to speak, to discuss the healing potentiality of such a potent device. Okay, so I'm going to get right into the main engine right here. This is a white phantom Lemurian quartz, which is hard to see from this video angle, but actually there is a ghost pyramid inside this quartz structure, which looks very pyramidal, just like the natural quartz point. Hence, to name a device in honor of the great goddess Isis, it had to have certain key elements to really back up that proposed concept. So having a white phantom ghost inside there, which of course there's nothing quite as Egyptian as pyramids, hence I'll describe this pyramid up here and its purpose as well as its homage to the ancient ways. So having a ghost pyramid is very Egyptian. Okay. And not to mention, this is also the primary clear quartz programmable device of this entire platform. So you can think this right here is the main heart that will basically be the engine of the device with all these other frequencies running through obviously in a closed loop circuit and contained field for process continuity. Okay, so this guy right here, the sub-engine, is a very critical component for this vibratory success of this device. This is a special variety of smoky quartz named smoky celestial quartz. Smoky quartz, like described, is a very powerful grounding agent and purification by grounding all excess energies of negativity out of the system into the earth for reprocessing. But what makes a celestial variety of smoke quartz very important, actually quite critical for the success of this device, is its higher self template auto-regulation. This particular frequency has a certain aspect of aligning to one's highest self matrix configuration, and also works as an auto-regulator of this complex device, which makes this frequency very energetically situationally reactive to the requirements of the wielder of this device in any given situation. For example, if you're watching TV, this frequency will basically slow down the entire vibratory output for relax mode. She's in action, she's also in practice, serving those that she serves under her jurisdiction in creation. This guy will amp up to the right amperage and make it very reactive to the requirements of the other recipient of the healing energy when employed. So that's a very important aspect, as well as a perfect energetic regulator that ensures the contact patch of this entire field, basically like a dimmer switch, will basically pick up or slow down as required for the integration process of this energy to be tangibly integrated into a cellular level. Okay, so to further ground this energy out, down here is lovely black kyanite, which we'll be describing up here in great detail when I eventually get there. Black kyanite is a very fantastic bridger of energy into the Earth plane meridian matrix. So you can think of black kyanite always being a very rapid auto-calibration design to ground all excess energy into the Earth as quick as possible. There's no quicker grounding frequency than black kyanite just about for just rapid, intense transfers. Hence, its placement terminated to the smoky celestial quartz gets the most out of that auto-regulation feature that celestial quartz produces, and having another bypass to ensure that regulation gets through the system very quickly and grounds at a very rapid rate. This right here is the lovely blue calcite. Blue calcite is a lovely fire elemental frequency of the blue ray. So you can think of that aspect of clearing any kind of 5th chakra, 6th chakra blockages in tandem to, once again, anything impeding one's truth will be gently removed from the 5th chakra, because obviously this is a very heavy 5th ray induction device, blue ray. So having that clearing capacity for all this, of course, is another assistance to maintaining one's highest truth and clearing any patterns that impede the truth, as well as the perception, which is, of course, the 6th chakra territory design of thought constructs or thought forms that would be counterproductive to one's highest spiritual ascension path. Okay. This right here is the lovely shungite. Even in small doses, it's quite powerful and utilization in a closed loop circuit. It's quite in vogue right now due to it being a very well-known EMF 5G mitigator that actually works very effectively to dismantle those frequencies from actually corrupting the field. You can think of it as a very high yield charcoal filter for the entire energy system. That also is another lovely light body purification agent. Then right here is a lovely serpentine with nephrite jade veins in it, here from Mount Shasta, my backyard. And this stone right here is quite humble in appearance, but actually is a very powerful kundalini activator as well as cellular respirator to actually bring full kundalini energy through the entire light body stimulation. So of course, like I said previously, all these frequencies are all terminated together in one closed loop reactive device circuit that is a sentient creature basically. And so all these components or organs, if you would, of this devices all work together in perfect harmony in tandem. And next to this guy, hence its placement is of the same kind of vibratory ignition, is black tektite. Black tektite, like serpentine, is a very powerful kundalini activator because this is the product of a nickel iron meteorite impacting the sand, carrying that extraterrestrial cosmic jolt into reality. So it's a very powerful light body stimulator. But what's nice about the black ray black tektite is that it's also a ground up energizer. So you can consider that almost a grounding stone based on its black ray continuity to get into the Earth Star Meridian matrix. But indeed, it actually is a very powerful storm elemental, higher vibration producer. But luckily, it's from the ground up in that instance. Hence, it's a staple, and just about all light tech is black tektite for that ground up intensive cosmic activation, which is quite critical for like the foundation of the Lightblade to anchor, to have that strong boost to the earth so the tree can blossom, obviously, and have that strong induction of high frequency energy through the entire centers, as well as another cosmic alignment. Okay, so this right here is a lovely piece of tourmalated quartz. This actually is black tourmaline in a quartz structure. A very amazing metaphysical use stone, because clear quartz is a neutral programmability that's very good for carrying other currents through it. Hence, the main engine of these devices is, of course, clear quartz for that purpose. But this guy has black tourmaline in the matrix, which makes a very natural amplification of black tourmaline. Black tourmaline, or swirl, is a fantastic grounder of negativity into positivity, just like the transportation sequence. They have the same kind of range of vibratory ignition. It makes a very perfected energy field ground. So when you have the combination of clear quartz in the matrix of black tourmaline, it super amplifies the natural purification and grounding that black tourmaline produces. So it's another one of those amazing potent healing stones for kind of, you can think of it as like an etheric astral vacuum cleaner, where any kind of disharmonies aren't like, or kind of things flying around the air by itself that would be hanging on, the kind of like bad energy. It's very, very powerful for basically dispersing this excess negative energy into the Earth Meridian matrix for reprocessing. So obviously, like I've digressed and mentioned many times, they all play off each other in this closed loop circuit. So this is a critical aspect for having a neutral, programmable, almost like a third engine, if you would, since it's a clear quartz structure of great size, and have black tourmaline be in the matrix to further purify the entire output of this device. And next to that, to get the most out of that neutral programmability, is petrified wood. Petrified wood is an amazing frequency that once was a tree from prehistoric times that oftentimes fall into a river to crystallize underground to be discovered by rockhounds like myself much later. And it's a very powerful ancient earth frequency grounder. So it's a very stabilized earth energy frequency, which I can express the criticality of that kind of concept being a perfect antithesis to such a complex frequency device. So that's another lovely grounder and stabilizer of the earth energy. It taps right into the heart of Mother Earth, if you would. Okay, so down here is a very special variety of quartz right here. Technically semi-formless quartz, which could be confused as nirvana quartz, but actually this indeed is a very special variety of quartz called shift quartz. I received this specimen from a good friend of mine here in Mount Shasta, who I informed my intentions of making another Excalibur class blade, master blade, if you would. And so he just mentioned, like, oh, I have just the thing for it. And so he came back to show me this right here, this shift quartz, which is a very rare but very powerful quartz named shift quartz for its dramatic aspects of actually shifting reality to a more positive state. So with such a high alchemical output device, it was a no-brainer to have that shift quartz of great magnitude, which has been quite fantastic. I, of course, only came across it recently. I have my own specimens from it as well. And I've had really fun field testing with energy amplification with it so far. But this specimen is impeccable for being almost the fourth engine, if you would, to be the backside of the celestial quartz over here. You can't quite see it because it's concealed by other components. But that energy of this shift quartz runs right into the back of the auto regulator of the celestial quartz to ensure that auto regulation, safety, harmonious frequency pitch is always maintained. Okay, and so the backside of this engine right here, which I already described the star argonite as a great calcium-based master healer of any kind of light-binding impediments. But this right here is the lovely chrysoprase. Chrysoprase is almost a criminally underrated green ray stone wonder of the mineral kingdom that not nearly as enough crystal enthusiasts or metaphysical practitioners are familiar with. This stone is an impeccable green ray emanation that has a slightly softer variation than emerald, which I'll describe later. There's emerald in great doses in this device, but I gotta stay on topic. Chrysoprase is a lovely third and fourth stimulator and also is known as a stone of youth. The particular way it hits the heart and the solar plexus chakras in tandem has a very youthful, refreshing energy on the entire energy body, and is one of my, if I had to say it, probably top 10 favorite stones based on this extremely nourishing, soothing, invigorating, and cleansing heart chakra resonance. So that, of course, being wire wrapped to the backside of the main engine, is a very powerful, soothing, nourishing, healing green ray, and quite simply, a stone of eternal youth is one of its catchphrases, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. So that'll be just this side of the engine. Now we're going to flip it over to an even more complex side, which will take a bit longer to get into. Okay. So I'll start off with this guy right here. This actually was a very cool artifact I found a while back. It was once a ring that must have been run over by a car, but I've had it for years, and I've utilized it in many different constructs. And on the back of it, it says, "Feel peace." And it has a moon with a star, and it has a sea on it. So that's obviously whoever the artist was. But what's nice about this silver ring is that this once was the ring right here, which I took the opportunity to wire up Scoicite into it. And this is Larimar, once again, just like up there described. And this is Blue Tiger's Eye. So when you have the combination of those three stones, the very apex, wire wrapped to this star Argonite over here with the silver conductor in the background, it's a very soothing, clear-minded output. Scoicite is a lovely white ray stone of divinity for the 6th, 7th, and non-physical chakras, a very powerful peace of mind frequency, and also on a practical physical level, very powerful serotonin balancer or neurochemistry optimizer, quite simply, which is very effective for that purpose. Then Larimar, like I mentioned, is a gem and mineral kingdom of extreme Blu-ray oasis of calm frequency. Incredible stuff for that purpose. Then Blue Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is a stone of harmony that is very good for stabilizing energy fields, but having a Blu-ray focus also makes a very strong stabilized fifth. Hence, it honors the heavy designation of Blu-ray construct of great magnitude. So that would be this section back here. And I'll get straight into the agates and jaspers right in one vein to describe their complexities together and their extremely stable utilization. So starting off with red jasper. Red jasper is the most stabilized red ray root chakra stimulant in the mineral kingdom. So having a stabilized root is obviously very advantageous to aspects of physicality, and red jasper does the job just about better than anybody else for really stabilizing the root, in tandem with petrified wood in the backside, of course, but a very strong, down-to-earth strengthener of the entire system. An amazing stone. Actually, I utilize it virtually every day on my wrists, even these little power packs I developed, to maintain that stabilized output. Very useful for everyday situations. You can't go wrong with stabilized energy. And most importantly, in honor of the Egyptian ode before me, red jasper was tied to the wrists of newborns and infants to fully anchor their energy bodies into their physical bodies upon their birth. And they wore those wrist bracelets for a long time to ensure a stable, healthy growth of the energy system. So having a little dose right there is an homage to that as well. Then continuing up with fire, this guy is fire agate. Fire agate stabilizes the base, sacrum, and solar plexus. Then transitioning into moss green agate, a water elemental agate that stabilizes the heart chakra to the highest capacity. Then another water elemental aspect, just like blue lace agate of the main blade band, is another piece of blue lace agate in a larger dose next to the engine to stabilize the 5th chakra. Then a very lovely specialty stone right next to that is holly blue agate, which is a purple agate of wind element that stabilizes the 6th and 7th. So when you take the aspects of earth, fire, water, and wind in a stabilized format, it simultaneously stabilizes the entire output of the elemental spectrums of earth, fire, water, and wind in tandem, which is very useful to be stabilized in all of the elements. Its harmonization with all the elements is very advantageous. Okay, So this right here is ruby and zoisite. Ruby is the premier red ray stone of royalty known in ancient times, and also is a true precious stone even in this timeline, and is a very powerful red ray stimulant. It's a corundum, which means it has a hardness of 8.5 to 9 on the out of 10 scale, which gives it a tense atomical structure of the red ray. So its stimulation of the red ray is basically unsurpassed in the Mineral Kingdom, while red jasper's stabilization is unsurpassed. This is a stimulant, perfect opposite to the red jasper, to stabilize and stimulate the red ray of the root chakra in tandem. So that's very much the zest for life, passionate, adventurous energy is ruby. Then in tandem with the natural synergistic combination of zoisite is a very powerful heart-mind coherence engager. So zoisite is a very powerful heart-mind coherence agent. So when you have the heart-mind coherence in tandem with the red ray stimulation, it makes dramatic positive shifts towards one truest template manifesting into physicality. By having the heart-mind coherence and the gusto and the passion of the spiritual pursuit of the quest, if you would. So that's pretty self-evidently amazing, particularly in tandem with the engine. Then to further be another counterbalance to that red ray enthusiasm is a lovely piece of Larimar, just like the main blade band described. But in a larger dose, next to the very back of this main engine, to have that extreme blue-ray, soothing, oceanic, peaceful goddess energy run through the entire main engine before it, of course, recirculates into the containment band and recirculates through the entire construct. Okay. Then right behind that is the lovely jet. Just like shungite described on the back side over here is a black-gray carbon-based stone. So you can think of shungite being a more new school metaphysical rendition of a black-gray charcoal filter for the energy field, while this one's more of old school. This was heavily utilized by the Druids of old, or the Celts, in the British Isles, those great magi of that time period, to be particularly a very powerful neutralizer of black magic. That was an old school magical utilization of this stone to be a very powerful purifier of energy, just like everything else been described with transmutation ratio, once again, purifies the entire field and grounds it into the excess energy of Mother Earth. Then next to that guy right there is a bolt of green and purple fluorite with a little bit of calcium and potassium feldspar on the back. The gemmy parts, unfortunately, are actually against the engine, hence the fitment was better that way. Oh, 1 second, got a frog in my throat. It is a lot of talking on a lot of far out subjects, so naturally. So, fluorite is a very powerful force of order in the Mineral Kingdom, and just about the most coherent, cohesive frequency to employ possible. So with all this amazing clarity, intensive energy, having a nice dose of the fluorite is critical to keep the clear heart and clear mind in the highest truth perspective. So fluorite's a wonderful agent towards that endeavor. And another soother right here is petalite. Petalite is a lithium-based white ray stone, clear ray, that is very, very soothing to the higher mind centers and the higher mind witness perspective. So obviously life can be quite challenging. That's very, very obvious when I say that. And petalite is a very soothing aspect to see the challenges of life from the highest perspective, and even the spiritual blessing and the adversities of life, if you would. So that's a very advantageous stone to have just in a small dose even. Then back here is the lovely fulgurite. Fulgurite is petrified lightning, which is a stimulant to the entire energy field as a whole. So you can think of the energy of lightning literally caught in sand in a frequency to activate the entire chakra column. So in First Nation medicine utilization or magic, it was utilized by shamans and medicine women of old to be a very powerful stimulant to intentions and prayers to source or creator. So having that terminated to a small dose in this entire frequency gives that intensive whoosh of energy throughout the entire structure to really amplify one's prayers and intentions, and with everything else, bring more tangibility to the magic. So it's a lovely also like energizer that also is very pranic generating, very stimulating to the body. But luckily, of course, it's a very well-contained structure with many subroutines to get the most out of it without it being too much any given direction. Okay. I actually do believe that might finally be just the engine section. Okay, so I'll start right into these lateral bands, which are critical and to really honor the full scope and scale of a Master Blade Excalibur class construct. And they're matching exactly here and here the same exact way, except one side is completely on silver, this side is completely on brass. So when you have the brass positive yang polarity, it's the projective aspects of these elements. When you have the receptive yin, it's the receptive aspects of these elements, how they, of course, receptive, projective aspects of the energy field. But I will describe each of the elemental bands, and then of course I'll just go ahead and give reference to the opposite, perfect antithesis frequency of the same element. So starting off with Earth is using red jasper once again, stabilizing red ray, then red garnet, kind of like a variety frequency to ruby, a very strong stabilized root chakra. Then once again, the wonderful ruby utilized in the Earth band. So when you have that combination of these frequencies with quartz and a little bit of tourmalated quartz in between, it makes ignition of the Earth frequency with a very strong Earth ray, red ray stimulation together on both the sides right here, exactly matched. The next is fire. Fire consists of carnelian, a lovely stone of ancient Egypt utilized as an homage to Horus, and also, of course, lovely specimens of carnelian right here in the fire elemental band. With clear quartz, and then tiger's eye. Tiger's eye aligns the base, the sacrum, and the solar plexus very well. It basically takes the lower three and makes a very strong alignment. So a lovely fire elemental stone for that purpose. Then there's the beneficent, delightful sunstone. Sunstone's a very strong fire stimulant to the solar plexus and sacrum, and a very sunny disposition frequency. Very light, very beneficent, and very, delightful, quite simply. So once again, fire over here, same exact frequency match on this band, going this way right up here. Then going into water, starting off with the lovely emerald, the royal green ray stone of the heart chakra, perhaps the most famous abundant stone in creation and most potent based on its beryl family connotations being very strong green ray activators. So that frequency is a very powerful, perhaps actually the most potent perfected green ray frequency in the mineral kingdom of the activated heart chakra. So its use is pretty heavily used in this entire construct, which I'll get into individually. Then into clear quartz, then into amazonite. Amazonite was another blue ray stone utilized in ancient Egypt, particularly Tutankhamun actually had a ring of a scarab beetle carved out of amazonite. So this has ancient Egyptian mystery school connotations as well, and is a lovely potassium-based, actually feldspar-based, fourth and fifth stimulant to speak the heart's truth. And then transitioning into clear quartz, then once again blue lace agate for the water band to stabilize the water element of the fifth chakra. So there's a lot of blue lace agate in this entire construct, which is very advantageous for honoring a blue ray truth device. Then going into wind right here is once again lapis lazuli, clear quartz, then blue sapphire. Blue sapphire is another stone of royalty of the blue ray that was utilized by kings and queens of ancient times, and is a very powerful corundum-based, just like ruby actually, same family, different names since they're both precious stones from ancient timelines. Blue sapphire is a very powerful wind element, 5th and 6th frequency stimulator, and a very strong, clear, disciplined mind. So in tandem with lapis, lapis of course affects the same exact energy scale as blue sapphire. So having those two in tandem is a very complementary strengthening of the stimulation lapis provides. Then next up right here is the lovely chaurite, purple ray stone of great power. Chaurite's a very powerful 6th, 7th non-physical chakra activator to be expected, but also has a very strong grounding effect through the entire energy field into the earth stars beneath the feet. So it's a great stone of purification as well as a revelation to one's highest path manifested in reality. So chaurite is a lovely stone to be part of the wind elemental routine. So when you take those aspects of earth, fire, water, wind, together like that, it makes a harmonization of stimulation simultaneous of the four elements in both the receptive and projective variants. Then next on the lateral bands is what I consider the love band. So in this particular construct, I utilized golden healer quartz, just like the source energy Christ frequency engagement or connection frequency broadcast, in tandem with lepidolite. Lepidolite is a water elemental stone, despite its purple appearance. It's a very lovely lithium potassium soother to the emotional body that puts one receptivity to the love's frequency. Then golden healer quartz, then of course the classic rose quartz. Rose quartz being a pink gray common quartz that's, thank goodness, very luckily available, widely available, to be a divine love connector. Then golden healer quartz, then so on. So this would be the, once again, the brass variant and the silver variant up here in the exact frequency. So thereby, between the handle, before it hits the engine, before it hits the main blade band, it has to run through the lateral bands of the elemental cycles of earth, fire, water, wind, and love, spirit. Okay, we're finally making it downrange. So I described these lateral bands in great detail. So next I will describe the primary thumb engagement. So this guy right here is designed for the thumb to go like so, on there, like that. And the foundation of this thumb engagement, can't quite see anymore, but there's a Faden quartz at the very bottom of all these celestial goodies. Faden quartz is an amazing master healer quartz variety that is the product of a life cycle while it grows in its cave before it comes into being. Actually cracks and restitches, cracks and restitches, cracks and restitches the entire way through. You can't see it obviously because it's concealed by a great amount of stones, but that vibration mimicking, of course, takes any kind of breaks in the energy field and also works to restitch those patterns. You can think of it as like vibrational fix-a-flat for any kind of weak point in the field to run the proper bypass and run a stitch from any kind of continuity blockage. Then with all the other frequencies holding the stint with the Faden quartz can actually fill in the cracks of any kind of deficiency in theory, in action, in tension. So Faden quartz also, since it's a quartz, the neutral programmable carrier. So obviously having that particular quartz frequency mimic the break and restitch can mimic this entire frequency through the auric field while engaged. So you can think of any kind of snap between like or solder, basically like a soldering point for any kind of weak point in the field. Let's say there's a very weak sacrum, which is very common, of course, from being an imprintation zone for any kind of traumas. So the sacrum and the solar plexus, or sacrum and like the base, they can restitch any kind of breaks between those points, while the rest of the frequency can fill in the cracks and basically dissolve the pattern's impediment from the source. Okay. That's probably enough about the Faden quartz. So right here is a lovely piece of turquoise. Turquoise is a lovely stone of antiquity, also highly used in ancient Egyptian magical practice, and a stone that is favorites to millions over the thousands of years for a very good reason, because it's not to mention it's a strikingly beautiful stone, but also it has a lovely fifth ray harmonizer and stone of wholeness. So you can think of turquoise having the aspects of earth, fire, water, and wind, but focusing it at the fifth. Hence, it's an ancient grandfather ally of great notoriety in First Nation utilization, and a very powerful stone for wholeness. And also with that wholeness is a very powerful energizer, soother, and pranic stimulator through the entire chakra column. Then, right here is the legendary Libyan gold tektite, which was a stone highly utilized and by particularly the pharaoh caste of ancient Egypt mystery schools and the god king wizards of that ruling class back then, and was a very powerful stone in that time period where the pharaohic magi would actually send out teams to find this exact stone, have it brought back in their magical alchemical jewelry smithing, or basically energy regalia crafters, and actually have this carved into a scarab beetle to be the central power breastplate of the pharaohs. And of course the magi, or the priestesses and priests, would of course utilize that frequency also, hence they're part of the magi caste. So it's quite powerful gold ray stone of stimulation to the solar plexus and the sacrum, which is considered fire elemental, yet it has the entire chakric stimulation in tandem. So it makes a very powerful manifestation frequency through the entire chakric field, as well as another powerful alignment to the mystery schools of ancient Egypt, in tandem with lapis, of course. So that is a quintessential royalty stone of ancient Egypt that we have the privilege of utilizing today for various purposes. Then down here is the legendary Moldavite. Moldavite is a great green ray stone of quite notoriety or even infamy for being a very powerful magical stone. So Moldavite is a stone that fell from the stars, or maybe even a space obsidian, a glass if you would, that oxidized green, which also comes into heavy Grail lore mythology legends. So Moldavite is a very powerful stimulant to the green ray heart chakra and is a very, very powerful cosmic aligner to one's true nature. So Moldavite actually has gained a little bit of infamy or notoriety for being quite disruptive to one's life by basically dismantling any kind of impediments in alignment with their true spiritual configuration. Any kind of unresolved issues get rapidly exposed by this frequency to be transmuted out in the higher good for the highest trajectory of the soul path. So obviously, little dose of that cosmic synchronistic alignment connection to creation goes a long way. Not to mention, like I've mentioned many times now, with a complex subroutine to govern and get the most out of the energy while mitigating the growing pains is the goal of utilizing Moldavite and Life Tech, and thus far it's been quite successful. And to further contain this power pack that is the thumb engagement is a lovely combination of emerald, like I mentioned, the king of the green ray perfected heart chakra stones, into clear quartz, be a neutral carrier, something simple, just carry the current nice and even, into the lovely aquamarine. So actually, on the back of these selenites, I've installed aquamarine here and aquamarine here to have that strong cardinal water element energy frequency. Aquamarine is actually a cousin to emerald. They're both in the same beryl family, just a slightly different elemental composition, hence a different color manifestation. But aquamarine's a very powerful water elemental stone that is a very impeccable 4th and 5th stimulant. So it is a cardinal water stone of great communication, speaking from the heart, as well as seeing clearly in the aspects of the heart any kind of unresolved issues, is to put it lightly, so to speak, and is very, very practically useful for a spiritual counselor. Hence, who this blade's going to is a counselor of great notoriety, or a sought-after master, if you would. And so having a further augmentation to the 5th chakra is very much very conducive to the idea of highest clarity for the highest utilization of creation. Then, going into clear quartz, into once again lapis lazuli, I've mentioned many times now. But lapis, of course, is the quintessential stone of ancient Egypt, and so its heavy utilization, even a more prominent section right here, is self-evidently very important to honoring a ode to the mysteries of ancient Egypt. And more importantly, bring them practically here for the integration of this timeline in practical use. That's a big goal of this device. So that'd be the thumb engagement containment band. And I'll flip over to this side right here. That's quite the interesting sub pack. So this down here is a power pack designed to be a more of a cosmic boost, so to speak, and kind of a subroutine for the blade blend re-energizes the entire section. 1 second. Okay. So at the heart of this power pack right here is a very special stone called Prophecy Stone. So scientific journey is still out on its origin. It's not quite known what it is supposed to be, actually. They consider it might be a meteorite, just like this guy. But it is found exactly in the locality of Libyan gold tektite. So it's not as far of a stretch to deduce the possibility of Libyan gold tektite indeed being a tektite and having this being the meteorite that oxidized this into reality. But modern science is still out on the whole thing. But what's very relevant is that Prophecy Stone is actually found exactly where this stone is found, Libyan gold tektite. And the reason it got its name is because a rockhound was out there gathering Libyan gold tektite a while back. And when he engaged this frequency, apparently it gave him a prophetic vision of great power and notoriety. So he deemed it prophecy stone. And it is a very powerful stone for seeing prophetic visions and quite the powerful inner eye stimulant, just like a lot of other frequencies on this entire structure. So having that ancient Egyptian utilization frequency mimic in that field is with a very special touch. Then right here is nickel iron meteorite. That is a variety of nickel and iron, a meteorite that is impacted into the earth, so that's obviously extraterrestrial nature. It's a very powerful grounding stone based on its iron matrix, and yet being very cosmic activating. So you get the best of both worlds with the stimulation of the higher activation of cosmic source energy as well as the grounding. And also, fun fact, according to legend, Excalibur, the sword of legend, apparently had nickel iron meteorite smelted into the blade of the sword. So if it's going to be an Excalibur class blade, a little dose of the same kind of metal, theoretically, according to legend and myth, used in Excalibur, honors the homage of this design. Then the containment pack around this power pack is a lovely heart-mind coherence generator. So, this is green zoisite, like described down here. But zoisite is a very powerful heart-mind coherence stimulator. Then next to it is scientifically called blue zoisite, but more commonly known in this timeline is tanzanite. Tanzanite is perhaps the most effective heart-mind coherence linker in the mineral kingdom. Tanzanite, being a blue-ray stone of window mental concentration, is the most impactful stimulation of the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, non-physical 8th soul star chakras, which mimics the perfected heart-mind coherence engagement through the entire energetic system, which stimulates the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So those guys completely aligned and in alignment is the impeccable heart-mind coherence aspect. So you can think of that aspect of speaking from the heart, from that aspect, and then the mind speaking from like the brilliance of the mind to the. So obviously, speaking from the heart with all the compassion aspects, with all the brilliance mind can conjecture in a closed loop unit, is a very advantageous frequency for counselors, obviously. And that is the most impeccable heart-mind coherence ignition sequence I could possibly come up with. Quite simply. Okay. So that would be these two power packs. The lateral bands were described, and I'll get straight into the blade face. So, this right here is an amethyst with Metatron's cube on top of it. Metatron's cube is an ancient and amazingly powerful sacred geometric symbol that is found in all aspects of creation. It is sacred geometry at its finest, as well as another attunement to the angelic force, Metatron. And so that frequency can be found in all aspects of physical and non-physical creation. So having that link on this entire structure to the unity frequency of all of creation is another aspect of entering a unified field when engaging this platform. Then right here is lovely purple lepidolite, just like described right here. It's a lithium potassium based stone that's very, very soothing to the emotional and mental body. And so having that heavy dominance of that vibration too brings a very smooth, soothing, serene serenity frequency throughout the entire field. Then of course, lapis lazuli and a great lovely dose of it, and a very beautiful specimen of it. Well explained already. Then right here, you can't get more Egyptian than the pyramids just about, or the obelisk. But the pyramid right here is a clear quartz pyramid, just like the ancient Egyptian pyramids are designed to basically be an apex of energy to focus it. So you can think of that as another side mount on the blade face projection center of directing energy, like so. Mimicked exactly on the other side is the two pyramids on both sides of the core of this device. So that's an homage, of course, to the great golden age of Egypt when the superconductors known as the pyramids were still operational, and they were intrinsic for the crystalline engagement program, or the Jedi Maker, if you would, back in the day. And so, of course, that's a very powerful clear neutral amplification, and just like the design of the pyramids, takes the excess energy and focuses it from the side mount, so to speak, which would be very advantageous for kind of a sweep, so to speak, by directing that frequency on the side of the blade with the pyramid. And not to mention, like I mentioned, an homage and a honoring of the great, amazing, beautiful energy technology of that timeline that is sorely missed in this world, at least for many of my circle who are metaphysical enthusiasts or practitioners. And it's a lovely way to honor that aspect by having an actual pyramid on a blade named Isis. And next would be technically almost like an obelisk, which was another ancient Egyptian power structure utilization. But more importantly, it's a rose quartz divine ray generator with the moon cycles. So obviously Isis being known as the goddess of the moon or feminine aspects, having the unified aspects of the full moon cycle from wax to wane into full right here, it's a very powerful way to keep the harmony in the circle of life, in a more vibrational talisman, if you would, on the structure. At the very leading edge of this particular frequency, does a slight discharge like so of the pink ray of love. And to maintain that harmony in connection with the moon was a very amazing way to implement the honoring of the moon feminine archetype in this entire structure in all the phases, just like both sides. So this blade face, of course, is identical in the crystalline structure. So as described, it of course applies very well. Alrighty, now we're getting to the end here. And I actually did forget to mention something very important down here. On the bottom side of this lateral band section right here is a lovely piece of purple labradorite. Labradorite is a lovely feldspar stone of magic and is also a very powerful etheric force field generator, and as always puts one in touch with their true magic of seeing beyond the veil. So just like lapis, it's very, very powerful for seeing any kind of deficiencies in the energy body and having the intuition to see what is actually being the impediment, and then of course more importantly having the wisdom and intuition to see the base of the problem for the dismantling, for the benefit for the recipient of the healing, so to speak. So another great stone of magic and protection, and that's labradorite. Okay, then we're getting down to the main blade band focalizers. So both sides of here are actually identical, of course, for perfect balance. At the end here is titanium aura quartz. Titanium aura quartz is actually pressure-coated titanium in a vacuum that makes that lovely iridescent color, but is also a very powerful energy body stimulant. So titanium on the quartz structure gives a very powerful full rainbow light body activation through the entire chakra column from top to bottom, every chakra in between, and also strengthens the energy of the field, so no weaker stray energies actually diffuse the energy of the natural engagement, which is very advantageous for keeping a strong integral field. Then next over here is the lovely Tibetan black quartz. Tibetan black quartz can be considered almost like a smoky quartz that comes from the Tibet region, which of course thousands of years of spiritual practice has imbued in that area. So Tibetan black quartz is like a clear quartz structure with carbon inclusions inside, which is very powerful clearing and stimulation to the entire chakra column from top to bottom. It rapidly grounds the excess energy into the earth, as well as massive expansion simultaneously and everything in between. And also, most importantly, is an ohm frequency purifier. So you can think of the energy of the ohm, the connection to creation, running through the entire structure, yet in a very purified manner. So that's pretty amazing in that description, obviously. Then right here, to further have a neutral acceleration of these blade band focalizers, is clear quartz. Both sides right here, which of course works as a neutral amplifier programmable structure. Then at the very end right here is the lovely aqua aura quartz. This actually is a quartz that has been pressure coated with gold, which gives it a very lovely blue aqua appearance. And so its frequency is very akin to aquamarine, but it has a very powerful purification transmutation of any kind of aspects impeding one's truth from manifesting. So hence, this would be the leading edge of the excess energy, making a focalizer, if you would. So it focalizes that blue ray truth energy very intensely through the main focus of this device. So that would be the blade bands. Okay, now I'm going to describe the selenite in great detail. Before I actually do that, I'm going to also describe the importance of this trifecta of blue ray stones. So these three stones were the most heavily utilized blue ray frequency stones in ancient Egypt for magical purposes, and hence the very tip of the spear, if you would, has a strong honoring of that truth of that timeline. So once again, the legendary lapis lazuli is right in the middle. I've discussed it 1,000 times by now in this video. Then there is the amazonite, which I only described once as part of the water containment band. Amazonite, like I mentioned, is a very strong stimulant to the 4th and 5th chakras. It's also a very lovely stone for speaking one's truth in a more deeper, grounded way. Since it's a feldspar base, has a very strong reaction to our physical bodies. So having that 4th and 5th stimulation from that particular frequency is very effective for the the 4th and 5th stimulation. Lovely stone. Then right here is turquoise, another stone heavily utilized in ancient Egypt. Turquoise, like I mentioned, was a stone of wholeness. So the big idea right there, of course, at the very tip of the spear of this truth-designed device, is having the three most utilized popular blue ray stones available to the ancient Egyptian priesthood or priestesshood for the initiate adepts was an aspect to really be an homage to that truth, who this blade has been designed to go into service to. Okay. So selenite. Selenite is a critical component in virtually all light tech that passes through my hands into distribution for a very critical feature. Selenite is very effective for clearing the 6th, 7th, 8th, and all the non-physical chakras to the higher self-continuity, as well as vibrationally purifying the entire energy field from top to bottom. But most importantly, in the application of this light tech, for example, this is actually built on an 8-inch core of selenite on both sides to be a very prominent, intensive version of this frequency. So selenite, by itself, is a lovely purifier of negativity and positivity through transmutation through the higher self ratio of the highest perspective. You can think of it also as a gateway to the higher self contact. But in practical application for this device is concerned, it takes this entire frequency described thus far over this whole entire hour dissertation. It will amplify, harmonize, and purify the entire vibratory output. So obviously that's pretty advantageous in a successful energy tool. To take this entire harmonization of this entire crystalline order, to purify, then to harmonize in that trifecta is a very effective light tool construct for a core. So now that's been well described in that aspect. Now, I'll get into the kyanites and their respective utilization. So, these guys right here are black kyanite. Black kyanite is very effective for rapidly grounding all excess energies right through the base, into the Earth stars, into the Earth meridian matrix rate processing, which makes a very rapid transfer of that energy to always maintain that ground. Then orange kyanite, found right here, is a very quick way to rapidly transfer the higher configuration of the sacrum area or the higher self or the astral configuration, etheric blueprint if you would, of the sacrum in the highest order to really have a strong creativity, divine inspiration connection. And not to mention another really powerful way to transfer energy into creation through the imagination, also very strong stimulant. Then green kyanite is a very effective heart aligner to other people, to heart of creation, very rapid transfers. Blue kyanite is a very effective higher mind psychic activator or neural pathway establisher to the right and left hemispheres or prefrontal lobes for the aka awakened third eye. And that'd be the four of them individually. So in tandem, you can think of them being another layer of etheric Teflon to make such rapid transfers to the energy body that nothing can quite stick to them that's of not of the highest frequency. So it obviously makes this entire frequency very auto-reactive to the requirements in the highest beneficent good of the wielder in question of this device. And a more like pragmatic, grounded aspect of the kyanite utilization that's very advantageous is that kyanites are very, very, very powerful for rapidly transferring energies. But in the aspect of diplomacy, you can think of, I will use ISIS for this example, as well as this lovely scarab beetle, which I will get into after this little dissertation. Back to kyanite. So, when you have a different frequency kind of altered right here and you're trying to have a two-way communication, things can be kind of disparate and not quite cohesive. But kyanites rapidly transfer the energies to make middle ground, so to speak. So that eye-to-eye clarity communication can be rapidly had through energetic transfer, being rapidly bridged any kind of gaps for diplomacy's sake. So, like I mentioned in the last few videos, I've criminally understated the importance of kyanite in practical application for building bridges of light between two different parties to get the most out of the contact patch and seeing eye to eye. So that'd be the kyanites. Of course, they're wired up to the selenite to be the neutral accelerator, as well as the kyanites placement here also makes the entire transferability of this energy of this platform very effective for the purpose of discharging and aligning energy to a designated target, such as my good buddy the tree outside, for example. Alrighty. So that would be the entirety of the crystalline core after only an hour and 5 minutes. Pretty impressive considering it's quite a bit of ground to cover. Now, once this video is concluded and all these different components are categorized and notarized in this, a leather hood will be installed. So this right here will serve as a color therapy, color resonance, insulation, and a subtle protector of the stones. So you can think of this being wrapped around this guy right here to A, protect the stones from they're looser than the rest of the components, and B, to be an insulation to kind of arc the insulation of this current and keep it contained slightly. But most importantly, the color therapy aspect. By having the white ray at the engine, it diffuses the 7 rays in a very even, harmonious way, which is the full electromagnetic spectrum of light. So that's a very critical aspect of having the hood installed to be a very effective device. And not to mention, it makes a perfect staging place for these implementations of these magical symbols in Ode to Ancient Egypt. So obviously, Isis, a proper symbolization of the great goddess Ascended Master, had to be notarized to make it worthy of even making an attempt to name it after such a great being in creation. So the Isis will of course go on the hood, as well as the scarab beetle that was utilized as a symbol of rebirth and regeneration in ancient Egypt. Then naturally the Eye of Horus right here, part of the mystery school initiation process, as well as being a very powerful magical symbol of that timeline that puts the wielder right in the seat of that beloved timeline of her mastery, so to speak. Then this right here is a very specialized power pack of high green ray potency. It's based on the love currency coined by the lovely wonderful wizard of Sedona, Stephen Ross, who actually had these coins commissioned in distribution of a very simplistic, beautiful message of with love, in love, and through love. And so by taking that coin as a foundation, then putting a very strong green ray frequency around it, such as emerald, clear quartz, peridot, right here. Peridot actually is a very powerful 3rd and 4th stimulator, as well as a reliever of any kind of blockages of abundance in either love or fiscally, financially, so to speak, any kind of thought forms that would impede the natural abundant flow. Get very quickly bridged with positivity between the 3rd and 4th to manifest one's heart's desires. Then in tandem with prehnite. Prehnite is an amazing green ray stone of great healing potentiality. It is, in my opinion, the most powerful analog frequency to the realm of Raphael, the green ray archangel of healing. So having this extreme green ray concentration right here is a very, very, very powerful healing modality of heart activation. Then once again, over this section is zoisite, like described up here, just a nice good raw chunk of it to put the heart-mind coherence of the green ray in perspective. So once these guys are all installed on this guy, this power pack is designed to actually take off the hood for a second, Go over the hood though, so it's exposed, so the message of with love, in love, and through love with all actions taken with this tool is maintained as just a natural background program. It also will have these wires grounded into the primary wire and have that frequency run through here on both the lateral band of love, which I omitted earlier. I was waiting for this moment to discuss this. By having that frequency, get this guy right through here for example's sake, if it behaves itself. Anyway, so having this frequency power pack grounded into this love band as well as this love band will make a very powerful synergistic energization of this entire with love, in love, heart-centered message. So this lateral band, which I omitted earlier, I will get into right now as part of the conclusion of this video, is a love band consisting of rose quartz, amber in between each of them. Amber is a lovely, technically a tree sap resin from prehistoric time that is crystallized. It's a very powerful transmuter of negativity into positivity as well. So amber is very powerful for purifying negative energy into positive energy, or basically any kind of densities into useful energy for the host or wielder of this device. So having that particular sequence of amber with the love source connection is a very powerful way to be in alignment and purified with the love of creation at all times, which is the goal of this exact lateral band. Not to mention, it'll also be the aspect where this grounds into this guy, then into the primary, so the energy of this green ray, love, abundance frequency, in tandem with the pink ray, will be the physical high heart activation continuity of high yield love generation, or high heart-centered energization. I digress myself again. So amber, great purifier, negativity into positivity. Golden healer quartz, once again, a lovely Christ frequency aligner. Then amber, then into kunzite. Kunzite is a pink ray lithium-based soothing divine love generator. So the combination of those guys makes a very strong stimulation to spirit or source energy in a very purified fashion with that particular ignition sequence. Hence, it was paramount to have that installed at the end so that this power pack of great provenance can have a proper ground into these two structures or relays to run the circuitry of the circular green ray emanation as part of the prominent badging of this device's high potency yield, quite simply. So like I described, these iconography of ancient Egypt will be, of course, employed to really do Isis justice, is the biggest goal, obviously. And this guy right here, this love currency, will be an integral part for keeping with love, in love, and through love the center of this device's purpose. Whew. Well, that's quite the mouthful. And the core of the device itself is set on cedarwood, which is from my backyard right here. And cedarwood is a lovely stone of ancient magical utilization. So that's the entire core of this device is set on one cedar wood core that's added to size. And, well, I think that's finally every single component notarized. Do one more walkthrough to really make sure I got everything accounted for. Okay, so in summary, this Excalibur class Master Blade named Isis is designed to be a full resonant light body stimulator at all times while predominantly keeping the focus of stabilized truth for the wielder as they serve creation and serve the spaces, places, and beings that come under their jurisdiction of service, and to do it with the greatest truth possible, to keep in alignment with that soul mastery at all times. That's kind of the conclusion of what that is, and it's a very complex, full energy center stimulator in a very calibrated, balanced, stabilized fashion to stimulate every single octave possible the chakra column through the entire electromagnetic spectrum of the color range and hit every single octave in high unison to make a very unified field generator to keep one in their highest truth at all times. That would probably summarize the aspect of Isis. Well, if anybody made it this far, if actually saw the contents of this video, I bless you. I wish you a very good day, and may the force be with us all. Aho.